rise.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 7 members here and 2 on Zoom. First order of business, celebrating success.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. So today is about John. We're celebrating John. After a member had a health event at Tanyard Creek and was taken to the hospital by ambulance, John gathered the members' personal belongings. Realizing we had some vandalism in the village lately, he contacted the emergency contact, made arrangements to secure this individual's personal belongings and his vehicle so that it was most convenient for the family and the emergency contact, and secured it all. And through the night continued to talk with the family and help update them and make himself available if they needed anything. So for that, we are honoring John Muldoon tonight. John did not know why he was here, and so we were surprising John, and so
it is totally not true. This guy keeled over. They said, call 911. I ran out with a shovel. I was going to bury him in the bunker because it's much easier to dig up than the ground's hard at Tanyard. What do you like?
I congratulate you, but maybe not. Well done. Maybe you can announce what occurred just a few days ago.
Dale knows more about that than us.
But you can announce. But you know. Braxton won the.
Braxton won the individual 5A, 4A. Okay?
3A. My daughter plays in the same group, so.
Okay, 3A.
The 3A golf tournament, he was the #1 individual.
And he's now going to state
He's
in
going to state.
a couple of weeks' time.
And Braxton is your
Grandson.
There you go. Thank you, John.
I just want to tell you something here. It was a team effort. I promise you, there was Danielle, somebody, and her husband. Her husband was calling 911. Danielle was standing with a towel, shielding the guy's head from the sun. Fortunately, Dave Wixon was there, and Dave used to be director of nursing at Mercy. So when I called 911 and they eventually put me through to Bella Vista and they said, what is your problem? And I said, Dave, take it. And Dave handled it, and I promise you, it was so nice because the guy's name is Mark Bumgarner, and I was he's got no family up here at all, so there's no wife or anything to get his vehicle. When Tony, I think Carmen sent Tony, or Caitlin sent Tony down, and he sort of helped in that we couldn't move the vehicle unless we got permission from family. And Jackie is his sister, who I'd been talking to, and on speaker, we asked her permission. Do you give us permission? There's so much red tape, it's unbelievable. I just want to move his vehicle, take it away. So the cops wouldn't let us take it to their parking. They wouldn't come and fetch it. So in the end, we took it there. But, you know, there's Danielle, her husband, Dave Wixon, there's Tony, and myself. There are 5 of us involved in this. So I'm going to ask if we can put all their names here as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wondered why I was told to come here. I really crazy.
Okay, next item, the approval of the minutes, the August 26th regular board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Jerry Barron moves.
A second.
JB seconds. Are there any additions, corrections, discussion? I'll call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
She said aye. Does anyone have Jan's proxy? Jan Sims proxy?
She's on. I heard one say aye. Anybody opposed? Nobody's opposed. Okay. The next item, the September 16th board work session meeting. The minutes probably about 3 lines long, I hear. Very quick meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes? Mike? Second. Jan Hagan, second. Any additions, corrections? Call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
There we go, 9-0. Next up, the Joint Advisory Committee reports. Tom?
Summary from the Lakes Committee. Paving for the Lake Brittany Dam will begin shortly. Additional parking at Lake Ann, this is up by the pavilion by the boat ramp, has been completed. They reported how the POA board voted to approve funding for the engineering study concerning the Lake Ann sinkhole. And the committee discussed the issue of parking boats and swimming around them in the full lake as opposed to trying to get them to do that in the coves. They discussed pros and cons versus this. No action was taken. For the golf committee, year-to-date rounds are up 2,900, which brings us to an 8-month total of 156,000 rounds. Year-to-date range buckets are up 3,300 over prior year, which gives us an annual of 41,900. Recognition for the Friends of Highlands, who contributed a lot of effort towards the AJGA Junior Golf Tournament. The Friends of Highlands provided lunch to the players, officials, and volunteers for the tournament. Phil Spencer accepted on behalf of the group. 78 volunteers participated. The tournament officials have indicated they will return next year. Additional winter damage repairs will start on September 13th at Highlands and Kingswood. This may require the use of temp greens and relocating tee markers while work is underway. No more than 2 weeks to complete. The sprigging at Scottsdale went very well. We plan on opening the golf course tomorrow. The Country Club rerouting, the highway project has started and will take possibly 2 years. Watch for detour signs. They are likely to be changing as the cart routing may be adjusted over time. There will be additional in-ground markers added to the gold teeing areas to better identify the teeing areas, and all gold areas will be evaluated and relocated to the most level area where applicable. So that's the report from the Golf Committee. And the summary report from the Recreation Committee. They always start by going down all the amenities and indicating if there are any issues. At the Branchwood Complex, the trail area, 2 wooden benches at the pickleball courts have been repaired and repainted, and the new pickleball signs are installed. There is a dying tree branch hanging over the walkway area before the 11th disc golf hole should be addressed. At Blowing Springs Recreation Area, RV Park and Gear Garden have been very active. Long-term, this individual recommended that we should consider adding playground equipment because of the high number of families that come into the RV park. At Tyree Park, there's a large tree limb that needs to be removed. At Lake Avalon Park, picnic tables, grills, activity equipment, and grounds were in tip-top shape. At the Metfield Complex, received member input. They received member feedback. They would like a different method of signing to instead of on paper. Fortunately, we're going to be able to accomplish that with the North Star upgrade. At Reardon Hall Complex, the pavilion and grounds are in good shape. The mini golf course is still seeing many players, and tennis is also busy. Maintenance matters. Some of the lights at the tennis court need to be repaired or replaced, and sprinkler heads around the tennis facility, a couple of them are damaged. Tanyard Creek, conditions of the waterfall lookout were discussed and not discussed at the meeting, but we're actually going to be meeting with an engineer at the site on Monday. The committee will keep an ear out for member requests, and as critical mass develops, create recommended solutions. Keep on your radar for long-term planning. There was a number of staff reports, and a lot of that will be redundant with Stacy's report that is going to take place in just a moment. So those are the three reports from the different committees, and the minutes are included in your board packet.
And as always, you can view those meetings on our website if you choose. Find out even more information. Next up would be the financial reports. Stacy?
So we're going to start by letting Doug give a little bit of an overview about the auction, the online auction that took place, and then we'll talk financials.
I gave the board an update a week or so ago, but you know that we were working for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months, trying to develop a website or a process to sell these lots online that we've had in inventory. So we finally had our first go around last week, and it turned out to be a very large success, and we're grateful to have that success. And so you've got a couple of bullet points there. We sold 10 lots for $66,000, a little bit over $66,000 to the POA, so that was great. Early in the week, we didn't have quite as much activity as I wanted, but of course, toward the end of the sale, the last half hour just really blew up. And at the peak time, we had about 65 active bidders on those various lots, and so quite active that last half hour. We did encounter a couple of issues on the second go-around as well. We're implementing some changes that hopefully will address those and correct those. We're going to offer 10 more lots again at our next auction on October 4th. A proxy bidding enhancement, this is one change that we made, whereas before you had to go in and every single time you wanted to make a bid, you had to put an active bid in. With proxy bidding, you can put in your maximum bid, and then it will add increments of $100 if someone else bids above you up until you reach your max bid, and then it will drop off, but then you'll actually get an email that says you've been outbid and you can go back on and bid again. This last bullet point there, bids made within the last 5 minutes, this was actually, Tia recommended this. Great recommendation that we've decided to implement. We had to do some research on the back end to make sure that we could do that. We figured out that we could program it so that we could make this enhancement, and so thanks to Tia's recommendation, you'll see there that if someone bids within the last 5 minutes, it will actually extend the auction for another 5 minutes. We were seeing a lot of people trying to get in at that last minute, and if multiple people were bidding, then some people were getting kicked off and not getting their bid in before that 2 p.m. timeline. So with this additional 5 minutes at the end, it will continue to add time. And so 2 reasons. Number one, it allows people to continue to bid if they want to, so it'll increase the bids, and then it'll hopefully mean more money to the POA. So we're excited about the success that we had. We have a judicial auction, which is next Friday, a week from tomorrow. So we'll have 35 lots offered for sale there, and then the next Monday we'll start the online auction again. So anyone listening out there will have a lot of opportunities to buy a lot from the POA. So any questions on that online auction?
Well, I guess it's about an average of what, $6,000 a lot that we got, and I think we know historically, just even 10 years ago, a lot of those things were maybe $1,000 a lot. So how do you guys feel about the current inventory? Do you feel like it's going to be quality enough as this one to garner those same kind of numbers, or should we be thinking $6,000 is kind of where we're at with certain averages on these?
Yeah, JB was asking a similar question earlier before we got started about, our inventory, where did we get the inventory? And when we decided to try to do this online auction, we've been in development for 3 months or so, and so we've been actively pursuing people for deeds in lieu of foreclosure. So if they're behind on their assessments, we will offer them this option. And so for the last 3 months or so, we've been bringing more lots into our inventory. And so I think this online auction is a great way to set the bar for what the market will bear as far as cost for a lot. And we've seen that borne out through our judicial sales as well. The constraint there is that you have to be present to bid. So, the numbers, while they've grown over the last several auctions, are somewhat limited in scope. On the online, if we get the word out, which we've been trying to do, we have a bigger audience to pull from.
Are these membership lots, or are these buildable lots, or both?
We say that any lot's buildable. It just depends on how much money you want to spend.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So they're all, in that 0.25 and up.
Okay.
0.25 acres and above.
Yeah, I think we've all been kind of tracking what's been happening at the city council level in terms of, septic and perk, and I think the Benton County Health Department is almost moving towards maybe a minimum acreage count too. So lots of questions around buildable or not when it regards to that. And it may be, and I don't know where we're at with how to look back at the subdivision pieces, but it may be that cottages come back into trend too, because the push to have the giant square footage is eliminating a lot of our actually buildable lots for the original intention of kind of cottage homes. So I don't know, it'll be interesting to watch.
I wanted to compliment our legal team because I want to remind everybody that these lots that are going up for auction, whether they're a judicial auction or auction through us, they hadn't been paying their assessments for years. So not only have we collected, in this case, the $66,000 on those 10 lots, but one would imagine that nobody's going to pay $6,600 for an individual lot and not pay their assessments. So you could see over a 1 month period, now there'll be processing and filing and everything, 55 lots going from not paying anything at all to paying plus the proceeds. So it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, because they give us the initial bump, but also they're paying their assessments, they're contributing to the community. And then hopefully some of these will be converted into homes, or they'll buy an activity card and golf membership and so forth. So my compliments to the legal team.
Yeah, I'll just point out over the last 3 months again that there's a lot of work and taking a lot back. We have to do title searches and legal paperwork, and Stacy and her team has helped with that as well. So it has truly been a team effort on a lot of people's part.
I was wondering, how many more than the 10 lots do we have in inventory?
So after these 10, and we've already started collecting the money on them, after these 10 are deeded over, we'll have 38 lots left in inventory. So it'll get us roughly 4 more sales. And our deeds in lieu have slowed down a little bit. We've kind of gotten all the ones that we feel like we can. We still have 2 or 3 or 4 a month that we're getting in. So 38 right now, and then we'll continue to try to get some over the next few months as well.
I think it might also be important to note that we're not just trying to take lots from members or get them back on in our inventory. It's working with members to make them current to keep their lot if they want to. The ones that they do not want to keep are what comes back into our inventory.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, our collections team really tries to get people either on payment plans or get them current. It's just another option that we're giving them at this point.
All right, moving on to financials. So August financials. So let's talk about August before we talk about year-to-date. So revenue, you can see our revenue's up again for the month of August by $287,000. Gross profits up by $210,000. Expenses. So expenses are worse than budget by $116,000. We'll talk about this a little more later in the slide. And our EBITDA is up by $94,000. So a good solid August. Expenses are up, which we expected to happen later on this year as we started out the first part of the year with our expenses being well under budget, and now we're playing catch up. So year to date, we are at $3.8 million as a variance, with $2 million of that being the legal settlement. Gross profit, $3.57 million. For a variance, expenses, we're at $33. Keep in mind, you do have about $85,000 that you're going to be voting on tonight for the pumps, so that will come out of expense, assuming that's approved. And then EBITDA is a variance of $3.54 million. So looking good for the year, looking good for August. So again, this is EBITDA year to date. You can see where this is just by department, just another view for you to look at. All the departments are above their EBITDA budget, except for you're close on IT, they're right at zero, they're just above budget. Lakes and parks are just below, golf maintenance just below, which they'll come up with when we redo the pump stuff. Clubhouses, human resources, and then central admin. So let's talk about just the POA. So just the POA for August. So our revenue was over by $157,000 better than budget, and $56,000 better than budget for last year. Food and beverage was up by $96,000. A la carte was $38,000. Banquet sales $11,000. Facility fees $10,000. RV park was up by $5,000, and guest was up by $8,000. Our transfer fees, again, real estate's still up. We're at $25,000. And the only thing that was really down was Scottsdale green fees, and their members were down by $14,000. Cost of goods, it's down by $70,000. So we had some timing issues there with some invoices in the food and beverage space. Of course, their cost of goods is up anyway because their revenue's up, but we did have some timing issues as well. And so we're also worse than budget over last year by $68,000. Gross profit is better than budget by $87,000, worse than last year by $12,000. Salaries and benefits, worse than budget by $29,000 and worse than last year by $120,000. We're going to talk about that a little more in a second. Other expenses. So other expenses were worse than budget by $110,000, but better than last year by $8,000. So our total operating expenses is worse by $139,000 and with a variance of last year of $12,000. Some of those areas, again, is payroll part-time, $13,000 in BB Bar and Grill and $6,000 in Lake Point. You have to expect that your part-time payroll is going to be over budget with your revenue is so high. They have to have people in there to work. Supplies, the pool chlorine was over by $7,000 for timing issues. Janitorial, $6,000 in Lake Point and $5,000 at Country Club. Again, revenue's up, expenses are going to be up. Consulting is in $23,000, and bad debt expense was better by $29,000. Goes back to Tom's comment about the lots, and so with all the lot sales and more people paying, of course, then our bad debt expense is coming down. So POA year-to-date financial overview. So year-to-date, the $2 million, of course, in revenue for the legal proceeds. We had $606,000 in food and beverage year-to-date. $345,000 is the BB Bar and Grill, and $162,000 is Lake Point. The golf pro shop is $125,000. The golf guest green fees is $114,000. Cart rentals is at $68,000. These are just some of the areas that are the larger variances. $129,000 from assessments and $80,000 from the RV park for full service guests. Cost of goods, revenue's up, so cost of goods is going to be up. Food a la carte $167,000. Beverage for beer, 28, and golf equipment, 27. EBITDA, so even if you peel out the $2 million from the legal proceeds, we're still 1.31 better than budget for the POA. So still a really good year so far. So let's talk about expenses. So we saw a lot of red this month in the expense side. So this is just a kind of an overview of all of our expenses, and you can kind of see we're kind of trending okay between last year and budget. But if you look down at the bottom right-hand corner, you can see we talk about bad debt expense. We're up $80,000, better than budget. Again, we have more people paying. We aren't having as much to write off. We're not having to reserve as much. Advertising, better than budget. Leases and rents, better than budget. Worse than budget, maintenance and repairs, salaries and benefits and supplies. So I want to give you guys something to think about as you leave tonight on the POA side of the house. If you remember, those of you who were here the first part of the year, January and February, we talked a lot about the wages and payroll and how far under budget we were. And we had COVID, and we had weather, and we couldn't fill positions, and we've had to do some wage things, and we've had to get more part-time people, and COVID's let up. So this year's been kind of weird in the way the payrolls worked. So as we've started working on the budget process for next year, we've started looking at some of these wages. And so as you guys are stopping and thinking about what you're going to look at with your 2022 budget, you're going to see some huge variances when you start looking at wages, because we're going to be budgeting for what we have in payroll right now, but it's not going to be what was in payroll in January and February. So it's going to throw some pretty big variances. And so as I kind of looked at this and started thinking about budgets next year, I thought, I don't want you guys to be surprised. So I want you just to step back and think about what payroll, for one example, is going to look like when we go into the budget process next year. Probably others, but payroll's a big one and probably a good example. So anyway, so that's just an example of of what our expenses are looking like right now. All right, moving into water. So water had a solid August. Revenue was up by $130,000. Variance to last year, $77,000. They had a great month. Cost of goods, of course, was worse than budget because revenue's up by $7,000, and last year $19,000. Water sales were up by $39,000. New service connections were up by $43,000, and capital buy-in $50,000. Water late fees were worse than budget by $1,000. Cost of goods were $7,000. And on the expense side, they're still better than budget by $15,000 for the month, and worse than budget by $7,000 for last year. Salaries and benefits, I skipped that line, but they're better than budget by $8,000 and worse than last year by $20,000. Other operating expenses is better by $24,000 and better than last year. Oh, I got the color wrong. Worse than last year by $26,000. And then EBITDA is better than budget by $147,000 and better than last year by $31,000. So, and the expenses to the side is kind of the same stuff. Payroll and benefits is better by $8,000. Of course, meter installation materials is better by $3,000. Property taxes, road and street supplies, credit card processing, and software support were all worse than budget. Year to date. So year to date, we had new service connections up by $125,000. Water capital buy-in is up by $143,000. Water sales is worse than budget by $27,000. Water late fees is worse by $23,000. Cost of goods is worse than budget by $20,000. Our expenses, so on the payroll side, we're better than budget by $44,000. Our maintenance and repairs equipment is better by $12,000. Our water distribution is better by $17,000. Water installation materials is worse by $24,000, and our water and street supplies is worse by $13,000. Water has had a positive EBITDA every month so far in 2021, so they're having a very solid year. And again, here's just another snapshot of our expenses. Not any huge call-outs here either. Better than budget, salaries are $51,000, maintenance and repairs are $26,000, and membership, training, and travel is $8,000. Some of the areas that are worse than budget, supplies by $34,000, taxes and permits $14,000, and credit cards $10,000. No, it would be more like water meter installation, so like new home installation type stuff.
We're up so much on new home construction,
Right.
so then we have to spend supplies to buy new meters, so that's...
Yes,
Yeah.
they are. So investments and intercompany loans. So we had talked a while back about putting some of the cash in investments, get through the budget process, figure out what we wanted to do with our cash. So we finally got that set up, got the Regions investment portal set up, and we have now invested $5 million. It is in different treasury funds that they have recommended that are secure. I've put $1 million in each one of those 5 funds, just to diversify a little bit. They're all the same return. They're all the same as far as safety, according to Regions, all in the treasury securities. And then on the intercompany loan, we paid another $10,000 this month, just a little bit to keep it going. And our balance is, again, at about 2.6 million. And just kind of holding until we get through the budget process again, and then you guys can kind of talk about what you want to do as far as where you want to spend the money on capital, where you want to spend the money as far as water, and what you want to do with it for next year. One other thing I'd tell you to think about when you start thinking about, do you pay back water, do you put into capital, is also the water bond. So we budgeted $600,000 this year, so we'll be paying an extra $600,000 at the end of the year. Actually, the payment goes out in January for the bond. We figured break even was about $1 million for the next 3-4 years to get that water bond paid off in lieu of actually refinancing it. And we budgeted $600,000, so I would encourage you to consider putting more money towards the water bond, assuming we finish out the year as strong as we are right now. Cash position, we just kind of talked about that. The POA is at $3.3 million. The POA reserves at $315,000. Our water is at $3.6, and then the water restricted, which is the water bond account, is at $1.1 million. And this is the one pager that we've always put at the end, which is just kind of a snapshot of everything that we talked about. Questions? I know it's a lot fast, so.
Yeah, I saw the credit card fees wasn't, in the grand scheme of things, really huge, but will the new system that we're implementing, North Star, help with that in any regard, or is that?
So yeah, so if you remember, the board approved to start charging for credit card fees. Mm-hmm. So we had to delay that until North Star, and so we'll be charging the 3.5% on the back office credit card fees, not the point of sale, so it won't be the restaurant and the like golf shop and things, right, but back office. So that will be a huge relief for credit card fees. In addition, we're moving to a different credit card company called Elevon, and their fees are coming down significantly, and we've also been able to reduce our merchant IDs, so that's bringing our fees down significantly. So we're going to see a huge reduction in credit card fees once we go live.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Thank you, Stacy.
You bet.
Things are going well.
We're having an exceptional year.
A very good year, solid year. You sell more food, you have to buy more food, so that's where the red ink comes from. Can't sell it until you buy it. Okay. Next up, open forum. Last month there were no comments or questions. I have no one at this time signed up to speak. I don't know if there's anybody outside. Has there been any emails? Okay, moving right along then. Next up, the announcement of an upcoming community survey and focus group.
So just want to let the community know that October 1st or soon thereafter, if we have your email address on file, you will receive a survey via email. Please check your spam filter if you don't get it. For those property owners that we do not have an email address on file, they will receive a paper one, so it will be mailed on October 1st, so it'll arrive soon thereafter. Also, we're going to be conducting 4 focus groups. The first one will take place on October 6th, which is a Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Reardon Hall. The next one will be on October 12th, a Tuesday at 4 p.m. Reardon Hall. October 19th, a Tuesday, 10 a.m. at Reardon Hall. And November 1st, a Monday at 5 p.m. at Reardon Hall. What we've tried to do is pick different days of the week, different times of the day, to accommodate the different schedules that our property owners have. We're anticipating these meetings will last about 90 minutes long. They will be very interactive, where the surveys will be more quantitative, the focus groups will be more qualitative, more detailed and so forth. The results, will present those to the community in January, and we'll be fully transparent with the information that we receive. And all of this information will be used to help the board develop a 5-year strategic plan, which will be presented to the community once completed, and we're tentatively anticipating that will occur midway through 2022.
We're hoping to get tremendous participation. This is an opportunity for the membership to have direct input to the board of directors for the future of the village. So we're hoping that this survey and focus groups are very well received, and looking forward to it. The next item, emergency capital projects. Stacy mentioned these. They're golf course pumps having a bad year as far as pumps are concerned. Several different scenarios. Tom, you want to explain?
So we normally lose one pump a year, one pump every other year. Not this year. 4 and counting. 2 of them related to flooding at the country club. One of them a lightning strike at Highlands, and a 4th one at Dogwood, just due to old age. It's just old. The first 3, the 2 at the country club and at Highlands, anytime you lose a pump, that impacts our ability to irrigate our turf. So we try and move fast to fix those as quickly as possible. We originally thought it would fall under an expense category, and when Stacy presented the financials, you saw those expenses in there. But after further review, it was determined that they were capital. So this is requesting that we move these over to capital. And so we require a vote of the board, and we will need 3 votes. One for the 2 pumps at the country club, as indicated in the suggested motion, the next one for Highlands, and then in between, so we first thought we just had the 3, and then in the meantime, we had another one go down, and it's just, it's been one of the few things that have not gone our way this year. So, any questions?
Hey, Tom, I have one. Considering the rash of these and that your description that 1 a year usually goes down, should we be approving buying a few more of these pumps? I don't know what different types are involved at each place to have on the shelf around here. They seem to be something that we may want to have in surplus.
So unfortunately, I don't think that would work, because each one is dependent upon the specific location. At each location, we have a 25 horsepower pump and a 50 horsepower pump, so we would potentially have to carry them both. And sometimes it's different portions of the pump will fail, so unfortunately that won't work. But we do have a very good relationship, because we're a very good customer at this point with the vendor, and he comes out and does the work quick enough. On this 4th one, I was able to send out an email to the board and say, hey, I just want you to be aware, I don't like asking permission after the fact. I mean, that's never a good situation. But also, we don't want to be in a situation where we've lost turf. So.
Yeah, it seems, I understand our capital requests and the vote of the board at certain levels. I'm wondering which of our expenses that we map out over the year seem to be unnaturally in our control of needing to vote on. It feels like this is one of those. You had to do it anyways, so I mean, it's just procedure that we're doing this vote, but I mean, does that need rejiggered for the next year?
They're typically, most of the time we have enough time where we can go through the normal board process of getting a vote, but there are exceptions. We've lost maybe refrigeration units, major refrigeration units in the kitchen, that falls into the category of, we got to get it now. But typically, you know, I would say that I probably come to the board once, maybe twice a year with emergency capital projects. So, I mean, we can definitely look at you're on the Rules and Regs Committee, we can definitely look at that, but I don't think it's too much of an inconvenience, and as long as the board knows in advance that, hey, this happens. You know, we're so large, we have, you know, 7 golf courses, we have, you know, maybe 20 pumps, I'm guessing at this point. So if, you know, on average, you're gonna lose 1 or 2 a year, except this year. And just trying to, you know, and then what I try and do, what I did with this 4th one is, I let you know as soon as possible. Hey, this is what's going on, so.
Okay, you want a motion for each of these situations?
Yes, since they are
Okay.
different, I asked, so it'll be 3 motions, please.
Okay, so could we have a motion for the pump replacement at the country club?
I'll be glad to make a motion approving the emergency capital project for the replacement of 2 pumps at the country club for $53,686.66.
Thank you, JB. Second. Jerry Barron will second that. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous. Can I have a motion for the pump at the Highlands?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion approving the emergency capital project for the replacement of a well at Highlands for $32,058.28.
Thank you, Jackie. Mike seconds that. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Can I have a motion for the replacement pump at Dogwood?
I move for the replacement of the Dogwood pump at the cost that has been identified. I don't know that.
It's
cost.
$20,000.
20,000, okay, thank you.
20,000.
20,000.
Thank you, Director Hagan. A second on that?
I second.
JB? Any discussion, further discussion? Call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is
Charitable
Change-
Giving Committee.
the recommendations from the Charitable Giving Committee. Every year, the board includes in the budget $25,000 to be parceled out by the Charitable Giving Committee, and they have heard the requests and made their recommendations to us.
The charities need to be Bella Vista specific. There's a lot of great charities outside of Bella Vista, but this is for Bella Vista. The committee meets, they receive solicitation applications from various charities, and you see that the list of charities here. This includes the BV Recycling Center, Animal Shelter, the library, the community TV, Oasis, NWA, Bella Vista Foundation, the Women's Chorus, the Arts Council, and the Calico Cut-Ups.
So there are 9 charities included.
Correct, and one of the restrictions in in our policies is that no individual charity can receive more than $10,000, and so this is broken down on the memo as to who will receive what.
As much as I'd like to vote, I need to recuse myself from this vote.
Understood. You are
Because
part of
Community TV.
Community
Okay.
television. Yes.
JB is recusing from the vote. Do I have a motion to approve this list from the Charitable Giving Committee?
I'll make a motion that we approve the donation recommendations submitted by the Charitable Giving Committee.
Thank you, Jackie.
Second.
A second on that. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That's 8. And JB recused.
Sadly recused.
Sadly.
In addition to those recommendations, the Charitable Giving Committee would like to elect a new member, Deb Sorensen. Her term would end June 30th of 2025. We'd like to thank Tony Lacassi and John Rice for 3 years of service on the committee. Really appreciate that. So we have a motion here at the bottom to name Deb Sorensen.
Okay, who will make that motion to nominate Deb?
I'll make the motion to nominate Deb Sorensen to the Charitable Giving Committee.
Okay, thank you, and a second on that. Jackie seconds. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
9-0. Okay, next item. Changes to policy 8.01. This will be a previously voted on change, first reading. This is now the second reading. After this reading is approved, this will become policy of the POA. Do I hear a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the changes proposed by the Rules and Regulation Committee to Policy 8.01. This is the second of 2 required readings.
Thank you, Jerry. And a second?
I second.
JB seconds it. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
9-0. Thank you. The next is a first reading of another additional change to 8.01, something that was talked about by Rules and Regs and forwarded to the board, went through the GM meeting, the work session, and here it is for a first reading. We'll need a motion to make that additional change.
I make a motion to make the additional change to policy 8.01.
And this will be the first of 2 required readings. And is there a second on that?
Second.
Jerry Barron seconds it. Okay, any discussion at this time? I'll call for a vote then. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Did I hear 8 or 9?
I only heard one aye from,
I said aye.
okay, there you go. There's a
Okay,
second one.
9-0. The third item is a proposed change to policy 1.02. It's a recommended motion for this, for the September 23rd meeting is right here. First off, we need the motion. Somebody will make that motion.
Yeah, David, I'll make the motion to approve the changes proposed by the Rules and Regulation Committee to Policy 1.02. This is the first of 2 required readings.
Thank you, Jerry. A second? Mike seconds that. Any discussion on this one? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand.
Aye. Aye.
9-0.
I just want to remind the community that if they would like a little bit more information about the changes, we encourage you to watch the Rules and Regulations Committee. The video is available on the POA's website. Also, the changes, documentation of the changes, you can see is also available on the website under proposed changes in the policy or the governance section. So you can do a little bit more research and get a little bit more information, but just keep in mind that, you know, on the first one, this is now the 6th time the board has talked about this. 2 Rules and Regulations Committees, 2 work sessions, and 2 regular meetings. And on the additional changes, this would be the 3rd time. So you may have seen that the board didn't do a lot of discussion, but they did most of the discussion at the Rules and Regulations Committee.
And that Rules and Regulations Committee is available on our website, and
Video and minutes.
if you're
are available.
interested, you can watch and see what actually happened. Is there any other new business at this time? Hearing none, I will move to the announcements. The Lakes JAC will be Wednesday, October 13th at 2 p.m. The Golf JAC will be Wednesday, October 13th at 4 p.m., right here in the boardroom. The Board of Directors GM meeting will be Thursday, the 14th at 2:30 here in the boardroom. This is a closed meeting. The Recreation JAC meeting, Monday, October 11th at 4 p.m. here in the boardroom. The Board of Directors regular working session, Thursday, October 21st at 9 a.m. here in the boardroom. Board of Directors regular session, the same as this meeting, Thursday, October 28th, 6 p.m. right here. And there is a Rules and Regulations Committee meeting scheduled for Thursday, December 2nd. That sounds like it's so far away, but it's not.
Yeah, so there are other meetings in between the regular meeting on the October 28th and December 2nd, but we wanted to include when the next Rules and Regulations Committee meeting is, so the community would be aware of that. So we threw that one in the bottom, but there are other meetings between that.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. December 2nd. How many days till Christmas? Good grief. That brings us to the end of the items that we need to discuss. Is there anything further? Meeting is adjourned.